Hello everyone. So we're not going to be playing Fortnite today, but not just that. We're playing Fallout for a different reason as well, and we'll be doing something very different today. Um, we will be listening to an audiobook in the public domain, and not talking philosophy. We will be perhaps experiencing philosophy. We will be performing some combination of absurdism and apprehension and awe and awareness raising
Stream Elements.
and
School Bus SOY is now live. Streaming Fallout 4, Bus Fallout Philosophy Friday, final report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments.
so yeah, it's kind of a sensitive topic that we're going to be covering about today. So right, without much more being said, we'll go live and when that timer goes off. So it's 8 minutes, 8.5 minutes about, and yeah, I'll see you guys then. I'll see you guys then.
Stream Elements. Stream Elements bot running robot face. Hamdam Didi. Surprised face.
Thank you, Hamdam. Hamdam Didit. Thank you. Hamdam Diddy. Thank you. And here we are, counting down. One. Uh, it's philosophizing time. Wow. Hello. Ooh, okay. There we go. All right. My bit rate is quite high. Let's see if I can turn that down.
Tomato Hero 999.
Hello.
Hi,
How are you? We are doing something very different today. We are going to be listening to a very weird audiobook and playing Fallout. And there's a reason that it's Fallout. So the book, let's see if I can show here the thing. Let us find the thing. You know what? Before I do that, because you're a recent follower, Mr. Tomato Hero 999, I will personally blow you up. Check it out. Wee. Oh, I hope it didn't throw you away. Oh, you're gone. I'm so sorry. Oh, you're back. Okay, great. Here,
Tomato Hero 999.
you get a star. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. I was gonna pull up this. And let's switch screens here. So this is LibriVox. LibriVox takes books in the public domain, so no copyright anymore. Anything older than like 1920 something, I think, in the US. And so those works are public domain, meaning that they're totally copyright free. So you can do whatever you want with that content. And LibriVox has volunteers that go on here. And I was thinking about doing this. It sounds neat. And people read those works. And not only do they read the works and create essentially audiobooks out of those works, they release that audio as public domain, or in the public domain. So all the audio on this website is publicly usable for whatever you want, even commercial purposes or whatever. So I figured let's do something different, and instead of me talking about philosophy and us playing Fortnite, well, Fortnite wouldn't load. So we will be listening to a pretty intense report that was published by the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments in 1995. This is a U.S. committee. Let me read this description here. Researchers in the United States have performed thousands of human radiation experiments to determine the effects of atomic radiation and radioactive contamination on the human body. Most of these tests were performed, funded, or supervised by the United States military, Atomic Energy Commission, or various other U.S. federal government agencies. The experiments included a wide array of studies involving things like feeding radioactive food to mentally disabled children, deliberately releasing radioactive chemicals over U.S. and Canadian cities, measuring the health effects of radioactive fallout from nuclear bomb tests, and irradiating the testicles of prison inmates, among other things. Much information about these programs was classified and kept secret. In the 1990s, Eileen Welsom's report on radiation testing for the Albuquerque Tribune prompted the creation of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments by executive order of President Bill Clinton in order to monitor government tests. It published results in 1995. This summary was modified from Wikipedia. So yeah, this is pretty intense, and the initial idea I had here was to play Fortnite and kind of do a take on kind of a performative, absurdist stream, but we're doing Fallout, one, because Fortnite didn't work, and two, Fallout is about a radioactive hellscape, so I figured that would be quite appropriate. And I'm not going to start with the beginning. This is a 1,000-page work. initially. So this is a pretty long audiobook. You can see here, these are all different sections, each about half an hour. Just look at that, you know? And I have not listened to this. I've just kind of scrolled through and listened to a few bits and pieces. And I'm going to just pick something random. Maybe chapter 5, part 3. I don't know. And I'll pick up this controller. And let's switch screens here over to the game real quick before we actually start on the audiobook. And you can see here I've got Fallout 4. Let me reconnect my controller there. And I have briefly played this game before, so there is a continue option here, but I'm not going to click that. I don't want to start the same game because I barely did much at all in that game. So we're starting anew. And then let me switch screens here briefly so that you can see this the audio thing. So we're going to go case studies chapter 5 part 3. Or actually, let's see if there's a short one here. 1925. Yeah, this is the shortest one. No, let's do a few different authors. So let's do Maria Casper in chapter 6 part 3, and then chapter 7 part 2 with Ciuffi Galeazzi. Those are the readers. Chapter 6 part 3. All right. Let's make sure that this is audible.
Section 34 of Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation.
Does that sound good to everyone?
This is a LibriVox.
I'll take that as a yes,
All
if
LibriVox
no one says anything.
recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. Case Studies, Chapter 6, Part 3.
I'm going to pause it real quick, just so that the very start of the game doesn't interrupt.
Tomato 9.99. A little quiet.
Is the book a little quiet? Or the audio book is a little quiet? If so, I will turn that up. So let me turn that up. It also turns itself down. Yeah? Okay. Well, it's paused right now. But... Hamdum-dighty. Okay. Yeah, I will have the book a little louder. And also just be aware, it turns itself down whenever I talk, like live. So... let's, I guess, watch this intro and then we'll start the book.
My great-great-grandfather, serving in the army, wondered when he'd get to go home to his wife and the son he'd never seen. He got his wish when the U.S. ended World War II by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world awaited Armageddon. Instead, something miraculous happened. We began to use atomic energy not as a weapon, but as a nearly limitless source of power. People enjoyed luxuries once thought the realm of science fiction. Domestic robots, fusion-powered cars, portable computers. But then, in the 21st century, people awoke from the American dream. Years of consumption led to shortages of every major resource. The entire world unraveled.
Turn it up a little, please. Smiley
Peace
face.
became a distant memory. It is now the year 2077. We stand on the brink of total war. And I am afraid. For myself. For my wife. For my infant son. Because if my time in the army taught me one thing, it's that war never changes. War never changes.
You're gonna knock him dead at the Veterans Hall tonight, hon.
You think?
Absolutely. Now get ready and stop hogging the mirror.
Right.
Yes, okay, so this is a character selection screen. Let's just do a default character. What is, these little stream avatars are blocking my view. Okay. Yeah, we're done. That'll have to work. All right. Let's play this audio here. Okay.
Local oversight, radioisotope committees. From its inception, the AEC distribution system required each local institution to establish a local radioisotope committee, later termed a medical isotopes committee. Initially, the primary purpose was to simplify the allocation process by having local institutions establish their own priorities before applying to the AEC. Soon after the program began, supply increased and no dramatic new uses developed, so allocation was no longer a major issue. These local committees also took on responsibilities for physical safety, usually working closely with radiation safety offices.
Thanks, Cosmo.
By October 1949, this requirement also applied to the AEC's national labs. When general authorizations were issued in 1951, granting broader discretion to qualifying local institutions, local isotope committees assumed greater responsibility. By 1956, the functions of the local radioisotope committees included
So there were some more.
special precautions, reviewing reports from their.
Let's change this.
Recommend.
This could be more.
I was nervous at first, but Codsworth's really good with Sean.
We're going to a different chapter, Chapter 5, Part 3.
Section 29 of Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments.
Okay.
This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Patrick McAfee, Evanston. Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. Case Studies, Chapter 5, Part 3.
Can you get that?
The California Experiments. While the University of Rochester had been conducting experiments for the Manhattan Engineer District, a related effort was underway at the University of California at Berkeley.
Good morning.
Before the war, Doctors Joseph Hamilton and Robert Stone had been exploring medical applications of radioisotopes.
I've been trying for days.
So we'll pause while there's conversation. Okay. Any suggestions? Urgent?
What's so important?
Why, nothing less than your entire future. If you haven't noticed, sir, this country has gone to heck in a handbasket. If you'll excuse my language, the big kaboom is... It's inevitable, I'm afraid, and coming sooner than you may think, if you catch my meaning. Now, I know you're a busy fellow, so I won't take up much of your time. Time being a precious commodity. I'm here today to tell you that because of your family service to our country, you have been pre-selected for entrance into the local vault. Vault 111.
Vault 111, huh? Okay.
But there's room for my entire family, right?
Of course, of course. Minus your
Tomato
robot,
Hero
naturally.
999.
In fact, you're already cleared for entrance. It's just a matter of verifying some information.
What's up? Huh? How what?
Any holdups in the unforeseen event of total atomic annihilation? Won't take but a moment.
Tomato Hero 999. Vault.
I don't know if you've played Fallout, but he was telling me that this character just showed up at my door and told me that I have access to a vault.
Well, in a bit of a rush.
So, well, let's have him tell me more. Maybe then, yeah.
Oh, it has all the amenities of the modern home, I assure you. Not to mention total protection from nuclear radiation and hostile mutants. A better future underground. It's not only our mission, it's our passion.
Tomato
Yes,
Hero 999.
like a shelter.
Like a shelter.
Here, let me actually do something real quick. I'm going to copy a filter. I'm going to duplicate it. And so that way, I don't have to manually turn it down every time the book is working here. Right, so let's have this be. Yeah, let's do that. Great. Okay.
I'm going to take too much of your time.
And oh, I should press a button for the man, shouldn't I? We said tell me more. Let's say
No, I can't.
sarcastic.
And
That's the spirit. Now, let's see.
Okay. Tell us about yourself. Need to know what kind of citizen you are to ensure your future happiness. Let's see if I can see. Strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, luck. Okay, let's put perception. Is there a theme here? It's a philosophy stream. I guess philosophers are supposed to be intelligent, right? Let's just turn them all up. Evenly. Okay, that works out just right. And the name will be... Believe It or Not. Soy.
Wonderful. That's everything. Just gonna walk this over to the vault. Congratulations on being prepared for the future.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Hey, it's peace of mind. That's worth a little paperwork, right?
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
With the aid
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that... Let's see how this audio works when... I'll just be quiet for a second.
Absolutely refuses to calm
of the University of California's cyclotron.
affection you seem to be so good at.
Okay.
You heard Codsworth. Go on.
What does this Codsworth fellow want me to do?
Tomato
Yeah,
Hero
that was weird.
999. That salesman was so shady.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. I have played through the start of this game before, and knowing what happens right now, it's certainly even shadier. All right, let's drink some coffee.
Hey, hon.
Talk to good old Nora. Go ahead. What does he want me to do? Did anyone catch that? Let's see. Codsworth, what do you want me to do?
Sir, if I may, Sean
Sir?
requires your personal attention. A boy needs his father.
Ah. I am a terrible parent. I don't even realize that I'm supposed to be taking care of my child here, I suppose. Yo,
Hun.
where are you?
Let's give Codsworth a break. Sean needs some old-fashioned human attention anyway.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I assume the kid is not in the bathroom, not in the laundry room. Ah, yes. The infant.
How are the two most important men in my life doing? Spin the mobile a bit. He loves that. Hey, how's my little guy? Much better now, huh? Listen, after breakfast, I was thinking we could head to the park for a bit. Weather should hold up.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
Like fun.
Sir, Mum, you should come and see this.
Codsworth, what's wrong?
Followed by flashes, blinding flashes, sounds of explosions. We're trying to get confirmation.
What?
We seem to have lost contact with our affiliated stations. We do have coming in. That's confirmed reports. I repeat, confirmed reports of nuclear detonations in New York and Pennsylvania. My God.
Thank God for the salesman.
Oh my god.
We need to get to the vault now.
I've got Sean. Let's go.
Okay.
Hamilton and his colleagues had pioneered in using radioisotopes to treat cancer, in particular iodine, in the 1930s. At the time the United States entered the war, they were investigating another isotope for cancer therapy, strontium-89. Indeed, it was this area of Hamilton's expertise that attracted the interest of the Manhattan Project. While Stone moved to the Chicago Metallurgical Laboratory during the war, Hamilton remained at the University of California's Radiation Laboratory.
Silly spammer. Put user in timeout. Okay, I've deleted the spam message, I think. Cool. I'm just trying to get the audio levels right. There's some issue here with all this. Okay. Chrome, and then.
If you are registered, evacuate to Vault 111 immediately.
Okay. All right. So now let's play this audio again.
Rad Lab.
Okay.
A colleague of both men, Dr. Earl Miller, a radiologist at the University of California, reported regularly to Stone on the progress of the Berkeley Plutonium Project. Under the Manhattan District contract, Hamilton's studies originally had involved exposing rats to plutonium in an effort to determine its metabolic fate and thereby project the risk to workers at atomic plants. Toward the end of the war, Hamilton began to conduct plutonium studies on humans for the government. Experiments with humans could be handled expeditiously, Hamilton wrote, because of the close relationship between the Rad Lab and the medical school at the University of California at San Francisco. In January 1945, Hamilton confirmed to the Manhattan District that he planned, quote, to undertake on a limited scale a series of metabolic studies with plutonium using human subjects, end quote. The purpose of this work, Hamilton wrote, quote, was to evaluate the possible hazards to humans who might be exposed to them, either in the course of the operation of the Chicago pile or in the event of possible enemy action against the military and civilian population, end quote. Subsequently, 3 subjects, 2 adults and 1 child, known as Cal 1, 2, and 3, were injected with plutonium. In addition,
So a child injected with plutonium. We've already gotten to some pretty...
teenage boy, Cal A, was injected with americium. And in January 1948, a 55-year-old female cancer patient, Cal Z, was injected with zirconium. On May 10, 1945, Hamilton reported he was awaiting, quote,
Yeah,
suitable
grizzly indeed.
end quote, for the plutonium experiment.
Jeez.
4 days later, 58-year-old Albert Stevens, designated Cal 1, was injected with plutonium, becoming the first human subject in the California portion of the project. Albert Stevens was chosen in the belief that he was suffering from advanced stomach cancer.
We made it.
Shortly after the injection, however, a biopsy revealed a benign gastric ulcer instead of the suspected cancer. The researchers collected excreta daily for almost 1 year, analyzing them for plutonium content. Evidently, by 2 months after the injection, Mr. Stevens was considering moving out of the Berkeley area. This would have presented further collection of excretion specimens. Dr. Hamilton proposed to Drs. Stone and Stafford Warren that he be permitted to pay the man $50 per month in order to keep Mr. Stevens in the area. Hamilton recognized, however, that there were possible legal and security situations which may present insurmountable obstacles. In response to this request, Dr. Joe Howland, who was reportedly involved with the Oak Ridge plutonium injection, wrote the following to the California area engineer, quote, possible solutions to this problem could be A. Pay for his care in a hospital or nursing home as a service.
Right, where am I
B.
supposed to go?
Place this individual on Dr. Hamilton's payroll in some minor capacity without release of any classified information. It is not recommended that he be paid as an experimental subject only. End quote.
Wow.
According to a 1979 oral history of Kenneth Scott, an investigator at Berkeley, who evidently was responsible for the analysis of Mr. Stevens's excretion specimens, the patient was paid some amount each month to keep him in the area. However, Dr. Scott also recalled that he never told Mr. Stevens what had happened to him.
So that's kind of crazy that they're paying the subject to stay in the area, not because they're irradiating them.
Quote, his sister was a nurse, and she was very suspicious of me, but to my knowledge, he never found out. End quote. In addition, an April 1946 report on the experiment records that, quote, several highly important tissue samples were secured, including bone, end quote. It appears that these tissue specimens, which included specimens of rib and spleen, were removed 4 days after the injection in an operation for the patient's suspected stomach cancer. 4 months after Mr. Stevens was injected, Dr. Hamilton told the Manhattan District that the next subject would be injected, quote, along with Pu-238 plutonium, small amounts of radioyttrium, radiostrontium, and radiocerium, end quote. The purpose of this experiment was to, quote, compare in man the behavior of these three representative long-lived fission products with their metabolic properties in the rat. And second, a comparison can be made of the differences in their behavior from that of plutonium, end quote. This research would provide data to improve extrapolation from higher dose animal experiments. Despite Hamilton's hope to have a second patient by the fall, Cal 2 was not selected until April 1946. Simeon Shaw was a 4-year-old Australian boy suffering from osteogenic sarcoma, a rare form of bone cancer, who was flown from Australia to the University of California for treatment. According to newspaper articles at the time, Simeon's family had been advised by an Australian physician to seek treatment at the University of California. Arrangements then were made by the Red Cross and the U.S. Army for Simeon and his mother to fly by Army aircraft to San Francisco. Within days, he had been injected with a solution containing plutonium, yttrium, and cerium by physicians at the university. Following his discharge on May 25, about a month after his injection, the boy returned to Australia, and no follow-up was conducted. He died in January 1947.
Jeez.
In February 1995, an ad hoc committee at the University of California at San Francisco, UCSF, concluded that probably at least part of the motivation for this experiment was to gather scientific data on the disposition of bone-seeking radionuclides with bone cancers. One piece of evidence.
Oh, I cannot fight that many of them.
There was a secondary research purpose for the injection of Cal-2 was a handwritten note in the boy's medical record saying that the surgeons removed a section of the bone tumor for pathology and for studies to determine the rate of uptake of radioactive materials that had been injected prior to surgery in comparison to normal tissues. It is likely that the Cal-2 experiment was designed both to acquire data for the Manhattan District and also to further the physician's own search for radioisotopes that might treat cancer in future patients. The California researchers themselves noted the dual purpose of their research at the time. Hamilton wrote in a report to the Army in the fall of 1945 that there were, quote, military considerations which can be significantly aided by the results of properly planned tracer research, end quote. As the February 1995 UCSF report on the experiments concluded, however, the, quote, injections of plutonium were not expected to be, nor were they, therapeutic or of medical benefit to the patients, end quote. This corresponds with the evidence of a letter written by Hamilton in July 1946, 3 months after the injection of Cal-2, to the author of an article on the peacetime implications of wartime medical discoveries. Quote, to date, no fission products, aside from radioactive iodine, have been employed for any therapeutic purposes. There is a possibility that one or more of the long list of radioactive elements produced by uranium fission may be of practical therapeutic value.
This reminds me of the Nazi medical experiments because it's like you said, grisly. It's like grisly science for the sake of grisly medicine for the sake of grisly medicine. Like, it's inhumane, it's harmful, it is pushing boundaries.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like they're quite aware that there is not a purpose, at least not one in immediate, interest. It's just I remember hearing about, and not just the Nazi medical research, but also World War II had the unit whatever in Japan, a similar thing. And I don't know, they studied all kinds of things, like how long it takes to freeze a baby to death. Not exactly that, but I know there was some stuff about defrosting humans that was just not very useful research, stuff like that.
Tomato Hero 999. And not telling them equals no consent.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the case with all of this research, and with the U.S. I mean, U.S. Military researchers, and not just military researchers, but a number of U.S. government researchers or just science researchers over the past 100 years or so have done some pretty radically unethical stuff in the name of science, and this is a pretty good example of that. So let's open this tunnel and get this audio playing again. I just thought that was an interesting point to mention.
At the present time, however, we can do no more than speculate, end quote. Documentary evidence suggests that consent for the injections likely was not obtained from at least some of the subjects at the
look at that.
University of California.
So at least partially no consent.
A letter from T.S. Chapman with the Manhattan District's Research Division said the following regarding preparations for injections. Quote, preparations were being made for injection in humans by doctors Robert Stone and Earl Miller.
It was in the name of greater good.
Yeah, whatever that means. Right, but I mean, it's so easy to excuse anything you want to do as the state. Like, if you're the authority, you can justify anything in the name of the greater good, and that's a dangerous road to walk down.
Injections would probably be made without the knowledge of the patient, and that the physicians assumed full responsibility. Such injections were not divergent from the normal experimental method in the hospital, and the patient signed no release. A release was held to be invalid. The medical division of the district office has referred P reports for Project 48A to Colonel Cooney for review, and approval is withheld pending his opinion. End quote. Chapman does not specify whether the injections referred to in this letter were injections of plutonium or of some other substance. It is unclear whether P reports refers to Hamilton's overall progress reports on his tracer research, which had reported mostly on research with plutonium, but also on research with cerium and yttrium, or whether P referred specifically to reports on work with plutonium. As we noted at the outset of this chapter, Chapman's claim that it was commonplace at the time to use patients in experiments without their knowledge and without asking them to sign a release is...
So that was like a common practice at the time.
Albert Stevens, Cal 1.
I know something I've heard a lot about is experiments on unwitting prisoners for various kinds of research, but particularly notably psychiatric research. I know of a number of examples of military research on unconsenting subjects for the purposes of like mind control. The CIA with Project MK Ultra. There's examples of researchers, doing things without consent to people, not in the generally expected sense, but misleading people. For example, the Tuskegee syphilis trial, just horrendously racist and not very ethical series of scientific steps. But yeah, that's a lot of precedent, unfortunately, for this.
No documentary evidence that bears on disclosure or consent has been found. Simeon Shaw's, Cal 2's, medical file contains a standard form, quote, consent for operation and or administration of anesthetic, end quote. This form, however, was signed by a witness attesting to consent of Simeon's mother 1 week after the injection, and therefore probably applies to a biopsy done a week after the injection, not to the injection itself. On December 24, 1946, at the prompting of Major Burchard M. Brundage, who was chief of the Manhattan District's Medical Division, Colonel K.D. Nichols, commander of the Manhattan District, ordered a halt to injections of, quote, certain radioactive substances, end quote, into human subjects at the University of California. Quote, such work, Nichols wrote, does not come under the scope of the Manhattan District programs and should not be made a part of its research plan. It is therefore deemed advisable by this office not only to recommend against work on human subjects, but also to deny authority for such work under the terms of the Manhattan Contract." End quote. The following week, the civilian AEC took over responsibility for all Manhattan District research and temporarily reaffirmed the Manhattan District's suspension of human experimentation at the University of California. It is unclear why this action was taken. The AEC's reaction: preserving secrecy while requiring disclosure. When the Civilian Atomic Energy Commission took over for the Manhattan District on January 1, 1947, the plutonium injections provoked a strong reaction at the highest levels. One immediate result was the decision to keep information on the plutonium injections secret. Evidently,
I've heard both. I know I've heard both. I don't know Tuskegee, but thank you for that. And I think I've heard the way that you phonetically spelled it out more than I heard the way I just said it. So I think you're right. Yeah.
Reasons not directly related to national security, but because of public relations and legal liability concerns. The other immediate result, as we saw in Chapter 1, was the issuing of requirements for future human subjects research as articulated in letters by the AEC's General Manager, Carol Wilson. In December 1946, as the civilian AEC was about to open its doors, Heimer Friedel, who had been Deputy Medical Director of the Manhattan Engineer District, recommended the declassification of one of the plutonium reports, CH Chicago 3607, the distribution and excretion of plutonium in 2 human subjects. The report, Friedel argued, quote, will...
Look at that. Secret social experiment. It's crazy, because these are... One is fiction and one's not, and it's just as one is just as ridiculous as the other. Alright, let's see, there might be dialogue here. No? Shocked sigh. Alright, okay. Let's,
Tomato Hero 999. We gotta be so grateful we did not live in the 40s.
Yeah, I imagine that's what people will say in the year 2100. It's like, man, I'm glad we didn't live in 2020. What a terrible time to be alive. Like, gosh. I wouldn't be surprised, right? I mean, it's easy to look at the past and call things barbaric, and they were. I mean, certainly things were barbaric and primitive, if you will, and inappropriate, and yeah, it's just like
Grinning face with smiling eyes.
I wonder what we do now that people are going to look back on and think is absurd. I mean, I could name a number of things. We could have handled COVID a bit better as a global populace. Like, that's one example. But just more generally, like, day-to-day stuff, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out that, like, plastics are bad. Obviously plastics are bad, but maybe we'll find out plastics are, like, really bad, and it's like plastics are going to be cut out of everything, and then there's going to be museums, and there's going to be like, look how common plastic was. They even used it in cups. They put stuff that they put in their body. I don't know. There's but in terms of like moralistic stuff, like how people interact with each other and how people treat each other, I wonder, and that's enters into a lot of political discussion, which I don't really want to get into, but there's a lot of potential areas of strife.
There will be new bacteria to eat plastics.
Hell yeah. I sure hope so. I know I've read about some of that stuff, so I hope so. Maybe they'll make bacteria to eat bad people, and we can put the bacteria on them. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea. All right, let's. We've got 10 minutes left in this chapter, part 3 of like chapter 5, I think. Maybe 5.
Will not, in my opinion, result in the release of information beyond that authorized for disclosure by the current declassification guide. End quote. Friedel's recommendation was soon reversed. Officials with the new AEC had learned of the human injection experiments, and on February 28, 1947, an AEC declassification officer concluded that declassification was out of the question.
I guess it's this way.
In a previously classified document recently found at Oak Ridge. Quote, the document, CH3607, appears to be the most dangerous since it describes experiments performed on human subjects, including the actual injection of the metal plutonium into the body. The locations of these experiments are given, and the results, even to the autopsy findings in the 2 cases. It is unlikely that these tests were made without the consent of the subjects, but no statement is made to that effect, and the coldly scientific manner in which the results are tabulated and discussed would have a very poor effect on the public. Unless, of course, the legal aspects were covered by...
Dang! It's not good. That was a mistake. I have no idea where I'm going. I don't know this overworld. I don't know. I really don't know. I guess we're getting back on the elevator. Gonna hop out of here.
By the necessary documents, the experimenters and the employing agencies, including the U.S., have been laid open to a devastating lawsuit which would, through its attendant publicity, have far-reaching results. End quote. It is not clear to the advisory committee on what basis the declassification officer who wrote this comment concluded that it was unlikely that consent was not obtained from the Chicago subjects. This statement could be read as careful bureaucratic language, intended to leave an appropriate paper trail in the event of subsequent legal problems.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
On the other hand, the statement does support the claim noted earlier made by one of the Chicago doctors in 1974 that some form of oral consent for the injections had been obtained from the Chicago subjects. It is clear that there was no documentation of disclosure or consent on which the AEC could rely. As a consequence, secrecy was to be maintained, not as a defense against foreign powers, but to avoid, quote, a devastating lawsuit, end quote, and, quote, attendant publicity, end quote.
Knock off spam.
Upon further review, the report was, quote, reclassified, restricted on 3/31/47, end quote. In a March 19, 1947 memorandum, Major Brundage, by that time chief of the AEC's medical division, explained, quote, the medical division also agrees with public relations that it would be unwise to release the paper Distribution and Excretion of Plutonium, primarily because of medical legal aspects in the use of plutonium in human beings, and secondly because of the objections of Dr. Warren and Colonel Cooney that plutonium is not available for extra commission experimental work.
So, speaking of plutonium being available for extra commission experimental work, Hannah, come on, show him your new radioactive hair. Come here. Yeah. There it is. Here, let's go big.
Hey. Whoa.
Say something cool.
I have yellow hair. It was called Lightning Bolt. Thank you.
Hero 999. OMG.
I did it myself. Hair by Hannah. Gang gang.
Are you in a gang?
Tomato Hero 999. Smiling face with sunglasses.
Thank you for the smiling face with sunglasses. Thank you, Hannah.
Tomato
That was a
Hero
good...
999. Awesome.
Awesome. You heard that, because there's the... Hannah is going to stick the broth outside. Tomato broth. Not tomato broth. Chicken broth. She glows. You were told that you glow. What's that? She's a glow stick now. Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's see. I don't know where I'm going. Is that where I came from? Oh, all right. Let's switch back here. Whee! Oh, no, that camera is supposed to... Come on. Come on. Hello. That's me. That's also me. I think that's where I just came from, isn't it? Yes, it is. So let's keep going this way. And if I'm going the wrong way, tough. Oh, let's replay this. And, it. What? You. Doc. I'm still figuring out how to do that effectively.
And thus, this
Tomato Hero
distribution
999.
is not essential to
Ouch.
off experimental procedures. In July 1947, Argonne National Laboratory's declassification officer, Hoyland D.
Tomato
Young,
Hero 999.
inquired about possible
That was
declassification.
I'm very sorry. I just figured if we're going to be listening to, we're going to be immersing ourselves in this radioactive soup. What's a little shrillness, you know? Let's put ourselves in the shoes of this character here. There's probably some ringing in the ears going on. At least a little bit.
Of this report, as well as Hamilton's report on the Cal-1 injection. She stated that the directors of Argonne's Biology and Health Divisions, including J.J. Nixon, one of the authors of the Chicago report on the injections, believe
That's the... Yeah, it is a bit shrill. Okay. So I'm gonna pause the book real quick, or the report, so we could figure out... Okay, I don't know how to do this. I think I'm gonna die again. I screwed up with the roaches. Oh man, and I trapped myself on the thing, and I got attacked by a dog person. Is that a zombie? That's sad. That's sad. Oh, I'm gonna grab a slice of tomato. Check it out. Tomato good. Tomato good. Tomato very good. Okay. Back to radiation time.
Believed that declassification of these reports would not be, quote, prejudicial to the national interests, end quote. The AEC continued to withhold declassification of these reports, however, on the grounds that they involved, quote, experimentation on human subjects where the material was not given for therapeutic reasons, end quote. Thus, there was clearly no expectation at the time that the plutonium injections would benefit the patient subjects, but some expectation that the general public might be disturbed by human experimentation in the absence of a prospect of offsetting benefit.
Okay, so they knew people would be upset if they found out.
And the Rochester doctors undertook to prepare a plutonium report that would be, quote, the last word on the plutonium situation. It would be the last word to only a select few. In 1947, Rochester's Andrew Dowdy had urged Los Alamos to give advance notice of declassification of the Rochester part of the experiment, quote, because of possible unfavorable public relations and in an attempt to protect Dr. Samuel Bassett from any possible legal entanglements, end quote. This is likely a reference to the same concern raised in the discussion of Dr. Bassett's seminar about his having experimented upon his own patients, except in this case, the context is the plutonium rather than the uranium injections. Quote, we think, Langan wrote to Stafford Warren, the classification will be secret and the circulation limited depending on Dr. Shields Warren's, the head of AEC's Division of Biology and Medicine, wishes, end quote. In August, Shields Warren approved the report for confidential classification and limited circulation, as Dr. Langham requested. Even though its data and analysis were the basis for widespread plutonium safety procedures, the report remained unavailable to the public until 1971, when, at the urging of Dr. Patricia Durbin, it was downgraded to official use only.
So, I just realized there's a quest marker at the bottom of my screen. Let's see here. Okay. So, let's play this again.
This categorization means that while the document was not likely to be released to the public absent specific request, it could be disclosed. What was it that was so potentially embarrassing about the plutonium experiments?
The plutonium, maybe?
In the 1947 letters from General Manager Wilson, discussed in detail in Chapter 1. These letters state rules for both the conduct of human experiments and the declassification of previously conducted secret experiments. In his April 1947 letter, Wilson stated the requirements that there be expectation that research, quote, may have therapeutic effect, end quote, and that at least 2 doctors, quote, certify in writing, made part of an official record, to the patient's understanding state of mind, to the explanation furnished him, and to his willingness to accept the treatment, end quote. In his November 1947 letter, Wilson reiterated these terms for human experiments, again calling for, quote, reasonable hope that the administration of such a substance will improve the condition of patient, end quote. and this time calling for, quote, informed consent in writing, end quote, by the patient. All of the 17 plutonium injections conducted prior to the letters violated both these terms. As a consequence, they would have to stay secret. The only secret experiments that could be declassified were those that satisfied these requirements. To do otherwise was to risk adverse public reaction. Thus, the decision to keep the plutonium reports secret was itself an example of the way in which the AEC's assertion of conditions for human experimentation was coupled with the decision to keep secret those experiments that evidently did not adhere to these conditions. See Chapter 13. End of Section 29. Recording by Patrick McAfee, Evanston.
Let's quick save. I'm going to save as well. Maybe over a previous file? I don't know. New save data. Yes, new save data. I suppose I thought I had a previous save. I guess not. Alright, so that's just a random bit. I thought it would be more... I don't know. Like, I was promised feeding radioactive food to mentally disabled children and irradiating the testicles of prison inmates, and I wonder where the terrible, juicy... I mean, that was pretty terrible. The series of things that was discussed there was not great, certainly. Let's see. Chapter 13, Part 1 is a little bit shorter. Well, no, short might not be... Yeah, sure. Let's try it. Chapter 13, Part 1. Read by Ciuffi Galeazzi.
Section 65 of Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Final Report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. Case Studies, Chapter 13, Part 1. Secrecy, Human Radiation Experiments, and Intentional Releases. When news reports of human radiation experiments sponsored by the government appeared in late 1993...
Ooh, let's pause.
Oh,
wow! He recognizes me. What happened?
What happened to the world?
The world, sir? Well, besides our geraniums still being the envy of Sanctuary Hills, I'm afraid things have been dreadfully dull around here. Things will be so much more exciting with you and Mrs. Beck. Where is your better half, by the by?
They came into the vault. Maybe you saw them, armed, wearing strange outfits.
I mean, you're armed wearing strange outfit.
Boy running around in his Halloween costume more than a week early. I swear, the nerve of that woman leaving her brat unsupervised. Ha ha, not like this family, sir. You and the missus have always been such a responsible couple. Where is she, by the by?
They killed her.
Sir, these things you're saying, these terrible things, I believe you need a distraction. Yes, a distraction to calm this dire mood. It's been ages since we've had a proper family activity. Checkers, or perhaps charades. Sean does so love that game. Is the lad with you?
Alright, I'm just gonna go straight ahead and say he's been kidnapped or stolen. Let's say, kidnapped.
Been kidnapped.
Because that's a funny word. Kidnap. Kids take snap. Kids take naps. But if you combine the two, it's bad. Weird.
Tomato Hero 999. Sounds like sleep repo.
Yeah, it does. Oh my, 200 years. Jeez. Okay, let's go. That's impossible.
No, that's not possible. I wasn't out for that long. Not 200 years.
A bit over 210, actually, sir. Or give or take a little, for the Earth's rotation and some minor dings to the old chronometer. That means you're
wow.
2 centuries late for dinner. Perhaps I can whip you up a snack? You must be famished.
Get food. Yeah, let's get some food. I want to see what they got.
Yeah, sure. I need a minute to think.
Then I'll be right back.
He ain't gonna get me food. What's he gonna do? Give me a tree branch with mayonnaise? What's still good after all this time? Okay, I gotta... I suppose follow him.
Sir? Here you are, sir. Now, I've been thinking, if something is amiss, your loved ones may simply be hiding from the Red Menace.
Okay. Wow. Why would I call him an idiot? Why is that even an option? That's so not friendly.
Why, the communists, of course. The Russians and the...
Jeez. Is this, like 1950s? It is! It is the 1950s. That's right. That explains, like, the whole decor and everything, and the cars. I'm using my noggin.
Or maybe evil leprechauns.
I have an idea. Let's search the neighborhood together. After all, the Mrs. and young Sean, they're my family, too.
Gosh, I'm gonna ask him if he's okay.
Are you sure you're holding up okay?
I wonder why that option was yellow. Ooh.
Sir, it's been just horrible. 2 centuries with no one to talk to, no one to serve. I spent the first 10 years trying to keep the floors wet.
Ugh.
Nothing gets out nuclear fallout from vinyl wood. Nothing. And don't get me started about the futility of dusting a collapsed house. And the car. How do you polish rust?
What do you know?
I'm afraid I don't know anything, sir. The bombs came and all of you left in such a hurry. I thought for certain you and your family were dead. I did find this holotape. I believe the missus was going to present it to you as a surprise. But then, well, everything happened.
Oh, gosh.
A holotape? What's on it?
I believe it's a private message for you. My etiquette protocols would not permit me to play it for myself. Any standard holotape reading device should be able to play it back. Oh, like that Pip-Boy on your arm. That should work brilliantly.
I'm glad I found that. I'm sure you would have had one for me if not.
Shall we search the neighborhood together? The Mrs. and young Sean may turn up yet.
Okay. Let me, see if I can turn down the, bit rate here. It looks like I'm sending too much data to Twitch. Twitch is complaining. Okay, it looks better now. All right, anything dangerous?
Anything dangerous?
This is a fairly long dialogue. thing.
And mosquitoes. Shall I investigate?
Mosquitoes?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Follow me.
Alright. And we don't have guns in our own house, do we? Probably ought to. Fridge door. Gosh, this is a laundry room, and... bobby pins. Those are good. That's good, because that's what I need to pick locks, I think. John's crib, activate. That was deceitful and uninteresting. Deceitfully uninteresting, in fact. Yo, come on, we're just like the secret clutch items that are supposed to save the day. Wrench? I'll take a wrench. That's not too bad. Mr. Handy Fuel. Okay, now we're talking. I feel like I'm spending too much time exploring. This is not turning out to be useful at all. Alright, where am I to go here? Alright, let's listen to this again here, and let's see,
Were startled to learn about such seemingly secret activities. However, some said that there was nothing new or secret. Not only had such experiments been the subject of government inquiry in prior years, but they had also been openly published in the medical literature, and even the popular press, at the time they were performed.
cannot jump through the window.
The atomic bomb itself, human radiation experiments were said to be the darkest of secrets, and yet no secret at all. What was secret about human experiments, and what was not? This chapter, drawing on what we have reported and adding some new material, summarizes what we have learned about both the rules governing...
They're really gone, aren't they?
Yeah, C3PO. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Sean's out there.
Codsworth.
We think.
I need to find him.
What about Concord, sir? Plenty of people there. And last I checked, they only pummeled me with sticks a few times before I had to run back home.
Useless? That's not useless.
There's still people alive in Concord?
Yes, although they're a bit rough. You remember the way? Just across the southern footbridge, out of the neighborhood, and past the Red Rocket Station? I shall remain here and secure the home front.
Thank you for offering to secure the home front, Codsworth. Or whatever your name is.
Codsworth.
There must be someone who can help you in Concord.
Man, just let me jump over the dang thing. It's just, don't like that. This is quite frustrating. Okay, I will walk around like a civilized person. I need bullets. I have 5 bullets. It's certainly not enough to defend myself against anything.
secrecy in human subject research and data gathering, and the actual practices employed. To most citizens, it is axiomatic that openness in government is a cornerstone of our society. We believe this is so for many reasons. In a democracy, the free flow of information is essential if we are to choose our governmental leaders, understand their policy choices, and hold them accountable. In our society, when the government puts citizens at risk, those citizens reasonably expect to be informed, both in advance about the potential risks and in retrospect about the consequences. In the tradition of science,
I'm guessing this is the thing. Ooh, radiation.
Good science requires the testing of theories and findings, and the open flow of information is essential to this end. Yet we also know that the government must keep some secrets for reasons of national security.
Red Rocket.
But national security may not be the only reason the public cannot obtain information about government activities.
Hey.
In the absence of an affirmative requirement that the government must provide the public with access to information,
You're all by yourself.
such as the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, enacted in 1966.
You lose your owner, buddy? Okay, then. Let's stick together.
Yay!
What are you doing out here all by yourself?
Face your dog and press X to begin issuing commands. You're okay.
Okay, then. Let's stick together. Hey.
Yo. Okay.
How you doing, buddy?
Wonderful. This game is much better now. There, we have a dog. Dog found something! Doggo, where'd you go? Dog? Dog, 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 dog. Dog, dog, dog. Where the hell did this dog go? Hey, gimme. What you got? Trade. Hard hat. Okay, I will wear it. Can I wear that? Yes. Okay, so I don't quite understand how... Okay, inventory. On the inventory tab, you can favorite items by pressing R1. That's not useful to me. Sorry. Ah, yes. Okay, good. Oh, this gives me HP. Is this the famous Nuka-Cola? Yes. Value. I guess we can settle for some pork and beans. Roach meat. Wait. It is radioactive, or it helps my radioactivity? Oof. I don't know. Yes, it is. It's just radioactive. Alright, where are we going? We're going... Uh-oh. Those are enemies, aren't they? I cannot fight these guys. I don't have enough... Okay, I got one. I don't know. Yo, chill, just...
Much information that is not classified under secrecy laws is, for practical purposes, out of the citizen's reach. Even under FOIA, access can be denied for reasons other than national security. Finally, the government can make information public in a form, such as technical research reports, that is too obscure or costly to be within the practical reach of many citizens. In short,
nice.
Our discussion of secrecy must begin, but not end, with information intentionally concealed through the formal system of classification. It must also cover information that is intentionally concealed through other means, and information that may not have been intentionally concealed, but remains inaccessible to the public. The government's use of secrecy is a measure of its citizens' ability to understand, participate in, and trust government. Because the government must keep some secrets, the measure of public trust, therefore, is not simply whether secrets are kept, but the integrity of the rules used to keep them. The question, then, is not simply whether secrets were kept. Were the rules governing secrecy clear and known to all? Were they reasonable? Were they honored in practice? To answer these questions, we begin by describing the rules of secrecy that govern the AEC.
I don't know what any of this stuff does.
At the beginning of the Cold War. We found that, in addition to national security, classification guidelines instructed officials to keep secrets for other reasons, including the protection of the prestige of the government. We begin by reviewing the practices of secrecy with the story of a debate within the early AEC over declassification of Manhattan Project human radiation experiments. While publicly professing the need to limit secrecy in science to matters of national security, the AEC kept information on experiments secret for reasons of public relations and liability. We next turn to the practice of secrecy that began roughly in 1950. We have learned that since that time, human subject research, including those that served military purposes, have typically not been classified. Nonetheless, some important information on human radiation experiments was still concealed from the public. After these two sections on the practices of secrecy in clinical research, we turn to the issue of secrecy in environmental releases of radiation. When radiation was released into the environment, the government concealed information for reasons that included, but were not limited, to national security. Finally, we look at the government's practice of record keeping. The government records that the advisory committee...
This is too meta. Let's back out of this. I want to hear stories. I want to hear tales. I want to hear... Okay, alright. Here we go. It's only 16 minutes too. It's Chapter 7, Part 5. We're also read by Ciuffi Galeazzi. I think that might have been who read the first one we listened to.
Section 40 of Final Report...
Literally the person we were just listening to.
Radiation experiments. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
Okay, I'm gonna block this user.
Please visit LibriVox.org.
Spam.
Final report of the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. Case Studies, Chapter 7, Part 5. The Vanderbilt Study. In an exceptionally large study at Vanderbilt University in the 1940s, approximately 820 poor, pregnant Caucasian women were administered tracer doses of radioactive iron.
Okay, there we go.
With the Tennessee State Department of Health, and the research was partly funded by the Public Health Service. Today, most women take iron supplements during pregnancy. This experiment provided the scientific data needed to determine the nutritional requirements for iron during pregnancy. The radioiron portion of the nutrition study, directed by Dr. Paul Hahn, was designed to study iron absorption during pregnancy. The women, who were anywhere from less than 10 weeks to more than 35 weeks...
Come on, y'all spammers. Block user on YouTube. Add to block list. Wonderful.
...pregnant, were administered a single dose of radioactive iron, Fe59, during their second prenatal visit, before receiving their routine dose of therapeutic iron. On their third prenatal visit, blood was drawn and tests performed to determine the percentage of iron absorbed by the mother. The infant's blood was then examined at birth to determine the percentage of radioiron absorbed by the fetus. The doses to the women were estimated in the study article, using crude dose estimation methods available at the time, to be from 200,000 to 1 million countable counts per minute. Although the investigators did not estimate doses to the fetuses in the original study, Dr. Hahn
seems like a pretty big oversight.
To be between 5 and 15 rad. This estimate, however, has been questioned. There is at least some indication that the women neither gave their consent nor were aware they were participating in an experiment. Vanderbilt study subjects, expressing bitterness at the way they believed they had been treated, testified at an advisory committee meeting that the proffered drink, called a cocktail by the investigators, was offered with no mention of its contents. "I remember taking a cocktail," one woman said simply. "I don't remember what it was, and I was not told what it was."
Well, that's a shame.
It's not clear what, if anything, the subjects were told. Information about the Vanderbilt experiment was available to the general public. In late 1946, news reports appeared in the Nashville press. The actual risk to the fetuses in the Vanderbilt experiment has long been a matter of study. In 1963 to 1964, a group of researchers at Vanderbilt found no significant differences in malignancy rates between the exposed and non-exposed mothers. However, they did identify a higher number of malignancies among the exposed offspring. 4 cases in the exposed group: acute lymphatic leukemia, synovial sarcoma, lymphosarcoma, and primary liver carcinoma, which was discounted as a rare familial form of cancer. No cases were found in a control group of similar size, and approximately 0.65 cases would have been expected on Tennessee state rates, compared to which the 3 observed cases is a marginally significant excess. This led the researchers to conclude that the data suggested a causal relationship between the prenatal exposure to FE59 and the cancer. The investigators also concluded that Dr. Hahn's estimate of fetal exposure was an underestimation of the fetal absorbed dose. A 1969 study, funded by the AEC and conducted by one of the investigators from the 1963-1964 study, attempted to reconstruct the doses of FE59 to the fetuses in the original Vanderbilt study. The investigators observed that the one case of leukemia.
Okay, let's see. Strength training. Strength is a measure of your raw physical power. It affects how much you can carry and the damage of all melee attacks. Now you instantly gain 1 point. Oh, they all just say now you instantly gain 1 point. Okay. Strength. Raw physical power. Okay, damage of all melee attacks. That is important to me at this time because I have no weapons. Perception. Affects weapon accuracy. Endurance affects total health and the action point drain from sprinting. Charisma affects success to persuade in dialogue and prices when bartering. Intelligence affects the number of XP earned. Agility affects the number of action points in VATS and your ability to sneak. Luck affects the recharge rate of critical hits. Okay, it's either endurance for convenience or strength for melee attack damage, and I'm going to go with strength. Just because, why not? And since we've leveled up, let's... Oh, it auto-saved for me. Wonderful. Let's do it again anyway. And I would love to find out where I can get bullets from, but that does not seem to be happening. Whoa.
Leukemia might have been due to radiation damage, but that the doses in the other 2 cases were low. Therefore, the relationship between the radiation exposure and the cancer...
hold up. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is my dog dying? Use this stim pack to heal him. Who? Doggy? No! Where is my dog? Oh. Man, I had one good thing going. What is that? Is that dog? That's not dog. Yo. Oh, my dog. Okay. How do I know if the dog is injured?
Yo, psst. How you doing, buddy?
How are you doing, buddy? Tricks?
Hey, boy, you know any tricks? Hey.
Okay, I take it he's like...
Head over there.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Over here.
No, come here. Dog.
Heads up. How you doing, buddy? Heads up. Hey, boy, you know any tricks?
No, I don't.
Here. Go there.
Yo, just follow me. That's all I want. That's all I want. Okay, whatever. I assume he's following me.
Might not have been causal. However, the researchers also noted that due to incomplete data, they could not estimate the dose absorbed by the fetus with confidence, and that no definitive conclusions could be drawn from this study as to whether these exposures resulted in damage to the fetus. The Vanderbilt study raises many of the same ethical issues as the experiments reviewed in this chapter. Like these experiments, the Vanderbilt study offered no prospect of medical benefit to the pregnant women or their offspring, raising the question of the conditions under which it is acceptable to put children at risk for the benefit of others, whether before or after birth. What could the investigators reasonably have been expected to know about the risks to which they put their subjects? Did they exercise appropriate caution in exposing fetuses to radiation? What were the pregnant women told, if anything, and was their permission sought? Who were these women?
Ammo.
And how were they positioned relative to pregnant women generally? The committee did not have the resources to pursue these questions in both research in which children were the subjects and research in which children were exposed as fetuses. We did establish that the Vanderbilt study was not the only experiment during this period to expose fetuses in research that offered no prospect of medical benefit to them or their mothers. While the committee did not conduct an exhaustive review of the scientific literature, we did find 27 human radiation studies that included pregnant or nursing women as subjects between 1944 and 1974. Of these studies, 8 were considered therapeutic, and 19 offered no prospect of benefit to the subject. Most of the 19 were tracer experiments. These studies were performed in order to examine human physiology during pregnancy, or to study the uptake of radioactive substances by fetuses or nursing infants. They generally addressed valid scientific questions that could not be investigated in other populations. Knowledge of fetal exposure to radioiodine, for example, was relevant to issues such as potential harm to the fetus from maternal uptake of radioiodine in diagnostic tests, or to estimate the potential effects of environmental exposure to radioiodine on the human fetus. In other studies, radioactive iron was administered to better understand the physiology of maternal and fetal intake of iron during pregnancy. Nasopharyngeal irradiation. Nasopharyngeal irradiation, introduced by S.J. Crow and J.W. Baylor of the Otological Research Laboratory at the Johns Hopkins University, was employed from 1924 on as a means of shrinking lymphoid tissue at the entrance to the eustachian tubes to treat middle ear obstructions, infections, and deafness. For this treatment, intranasal radium applicators, sealed ampules containing radium salt, were inserted, at least 3 insertions per treatment cycle, into the nasopharyngeal area for 12-minute periods. The therapeutic effect of the treatments resulted from the penetrating radiation emitted from the radium source, gamma and beta rays, not from the internal deposition of radium itself. Crow and his colleagues reported that under this treatment, the lymphoid tissue around the tubal orifices gradually disappeared. Marked improvement or complete return of the hearing followed, and in many, the bluish discoloration of the tympanic membrane also disappeared. This method was used for more than a quarter century as a prophylaxis against deafness, for relieving children with recurrent adenoid tissue following tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy, and for children with chronic ear infections. Asthmatic children with frequent upper respiratory infections were also often considered for this type of irradiation. An average of 150 patients a month, mostly children, were given the treatment at the Johns Hopkins Clinic over a period of several years. Many children received the treatment more than once, as recurrent lymphoid tissue was considered an indication for treatment. Crow and his colleagues reported that the results following irradiation of the nasopharynx alone were not only as good as, but often better than, those following removal of tonsils and adenoids. In review articles, they noted that approximately 85% of treated patients responded with decreased numbers of infections and/or improved hearing when treated at young ages. They also concluded that it is effective, safe, painless, inexpensive, and has proved particularly valuable for prevention of certain ear, sinus, and bronchial condition in children. Although early articles by Crow and colleagues indicate that nasopharyngeal radium treatments were accepted as standard procedure for the prevention of childhood deafness, these treatments, like most standard interventions in medicine, had not been subjected to formal scientific evaluation. A controlled study was conducted from 1948 to 1953 by Crow and his colleagues to determine the feasibility of irradiation of the nasopharynx as a method for controlling hearing impairment in large groups of children associated with lymphoid hypoplasia in the nasopharynx, to draw conclusions concerning the per capita cost of such an undertaking as a public health measure. Crow et al. Wrote in an NIH Notice of Research that the procedure of treatment is not new as an individual measure. This is the first adequately controlled experiment of sufficient size for accurate statistical analysis. This work was funded by NIH for the entire period of study. As recorded in an NIH grant application, the study involved approximately 7,000 children screened for hearing impairment. Of those screened, approximately 50% were selected for further study based on the chosen criteria for hearing loss. Half of this study group was irradiated with radium, while the other half served as a control group. Crow and colleagues reportedly concluded from this study, published in 1955, that the radium treatments did shrink swelling of lymphoid tissue and improve hearing. This type of therapy was ultimately discontinued because of newly available antibiotics and the use of transtympanic drainage tubes, as well as awareness of the potential risks of radiation treatment.
I mean, they'd been known for a little while.
Targeted lymphoid tissue, the brain and other tissues in the head and neck region, including the paranasal sinuses, salivary glands, thyroid, and parathyroid glands, are also exposed to significant doses of radiation during the radium treatments, prompting concern that these treated individuals might have been placed at increased risk for radiation-induced cancers at these sites. Dale P. Sandler et al., in their 1982 study of the effects of nasopharyngeal irradiation on excess cancer risk for children treated at the Johns Hopkins Clinic, found a statistically significant overall excess of malignant neoplasms of the head and neck among exposed subjects, based, however, on only 4 cases, in comparison with 0.57 expected. This excess was accounted for mainly by 3 brain tumors that occurred in the irradiation subjects. One other malignant tumor, a cancer of the soft palate, was also reported. The Department of Epidemiology at the Johns Hopkins University has undertaken a further follow-up study of the Crow et al. Cohort of children irradiated there, previously studied by Sandler et al. Verdoin et al., in their 1989 study of cancer mortality risk for those individuals, mostly children, treated by nasopharyngeal irradiation with radium-226 in the Netherlands, reported that the present study has found no excess of cancer mortality at any site associated with radium exposure by the Crow and Baylor therapy. Specifically, the finding of Sandler et al. Of an excess of head and neck cancer was not found in this study group. Among the Japanese atomic bomb survivors, no excess of brain tumors was found. However, several studies have noted
That's surprising.
increased risk of both benign and malignant brain tumors following therapeutic doses of radiation to the head and neck region during childhood. From the committee's own limited risk analysis of these experiments, we concluded that the brain and surrounding head and neck tissues would be put at highest risk, and estimated the lifetime risk at approximately 4.35 per thousand, and an increased relative risk of 62%. The Hopkins nasopharyngeal study raises different ethical issues than those posed by the other experiments reviewed in this chapter, all of which offered no prospect of medical benefit to the children who served as subjects.
Children!
By contrast, the nasopharyngeal irradiation experiment was designed to determine whether children at risk for hearing loss would be better off receiving radiation treatments or not receiving such treatments. A central issue here was whether it was permissible to withhold this intervention from at-risk children. The application of radium was at this point a common, but scientifically unproven, treatment for children at risk of hearing loss. the risks of the treatment were not well characterized. If it was really unknown which was better for children, receiving radium or no intervention, then the medical interests of the children were best served by being subjects in the research because, as a consequence, they would have a 50% chance of receiving the better approach. The nasopharyngeal experiment thus belongs to a class of research the committee did not investigate: therapeutic research with children. End of section 40.
So why is it in the book? That's a non-starter. That is a non-starter. I declare it. Sorry for the shrillness. Let's get back to the game here. I'm probably gonna start to wrap things up here. Let's see what is on here. What's going on here in this museum. And let's see if truth is truly stranger than fiction. That's gunfire, really. That's gunfire. They're shooting indoors. Bobby pin box. Oh. Cigarette machine. Really don't know what to do with this.
Won't be able to pick this.
I won't be able to pick this, will I? Yo, is that not my dog? That is my dog. Yo, what are you doing, homie? Who are you? I don't know you. Don't shoot me. People are so rude. I want to say something about British occupation. It's a little museum room. Yo, don't shoot my dog, jerk. Maybe I should take the lantern. I cannot take the lantern. For some unexplained reason. Okay. Okay. Yo. Yo.
Time to reel him in. Don't you die on me!
You kill him! Sorry, but, you know. Taking your clothes, pal! I assume I'm, like, kind of close to filling up on... Oh, 250. I've got plenty of... Ooh, not so much ammo. Let's try this. Oh, plenty of ammo for that. Let's go. Let's go! Homie, you will not find me. Yo! Oh gosh, that's why that's... Come on. Yo! Chill, homie. Oh, doggo, no! Here, stim pack. Oh man! There we go. Oh, is that my, like, guy? That's my homie. Right, because otherwise... I can only assume this is good. Alright. Cool. Well, that's good. And the British are coming. Yeah. Now I have to find out. Ugh, no. No. A real shame. No more British occupation. Alright. Here we run. Jackanapes. That's something, huh? Alright, so I guess now we have to find out how to move towards the... I don't even know where we're supposed to be going here. It's... there, I think? I really haven't the slightest clue, to be quite honest. This all kind of looks the same. It ain't that. It certainly is not. Well, there were people here, right? So this is... yeah, it sounds like SpongeBob music almost. Ooh, fancy Nuka-Cola. Upper Skull? Why not? Tin can, snack cakes. I don't know.
Hick Joey. How's it going, Oliver?
It's going well. I don't know when you popped in here, but you kind of just got here right at the end. I was we were listening to a book. Let's see, an audiobook. Here, I can put this up here to display. It's going well. That's the answer. I was kind of like sick this past week with unknown reasons, but it's going well. It's going well. Here, let me show you what I've... yeah, we're listening to audiobooks. The audiobook of this, like a 1,000-page document.
I just got here. Sorry, Matt. Hope you are feeling better now.
Oh, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fine now. Yeah. But yeah, no, we were listening to the audiobook for this, which is this 1,000-page report from 1995 detailing U.S. Human radiation testing, which is terrible. And I was playing Fallout because radiation wasteland, kind of a sort of strange combination of things. Yeah, this is pretty nasty stuff. Feeding radioactive food to mentally disabled children, irradiating the testicles of prison inmates. Not good stuff. Not good stuff. But yeah, this website is really cool. LibriVox. They take public domain works, and people volunteer, like unpaid, to read them, and those audio files, the audiobooks essentially are also public domain. So you can do whatever you want with them. You can resell them. You can put them on your stream, So I figured this would be an interesting switch up of what I normally do, which is let's see, I don't know if you've, that's not it. That's not what I wanted to pull up, is it? I think what I normally do is, yeah, it is open here. So like the other week I did a stream on Michel Foucault, and I kind of go through, just to show you here, because I'm at the end of the stream anyway, so I'm kind of done playing the game. Let me save it before I really quit out of here. But yeah, no, this was like on the 7th, and we talk about some topic, and I write this outline the week of the stream and share this and talk about this on the stream, maybe watch a video, and I write about the topic at hand, and we discuss this while I play Fortnite. If it's Friday or if it's Sunday, I play Splitgate or School Bus Simulator. And so this is restreamed on like Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, on a few other things, and the YouTube bots love my channel. I feel so honored because they are constantly hitting me with the vom.red. I don't even know. That doesn't even sound like a URL. But actually, speaking of things that don't sound like URLs, my website does not sound like a .soy does not sound like a URL. It's not really finalized, like the whole thing, but I think actually it's supposed to look special if I'm live. I think it's supposed to show the stream. I don't know if it works, but haha. Yes, it is. It's not functional.
Joey.
But yeah.
I checked out the website the other day actually. You have some nice merch.
Oh, thank you.
Tomato Hero 9.99. Buy it was a really cool combo. Great food for thought.
Great food for thought. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you joining here. Yeah, speaking of merch, I'm wearing the merch. I have the mug too. I don't know if I was drinking out of the mug. Yeah, we were using the mug earlier. Let's see if yeah. Boom. Let's see. Yeah. I wanted to make, I don't know if you're familiar with the trolley problem in philosophy, but what the trolley problem states is there is a trolley going down a track, and you see 5 people at the end of the track. Okay, so you know the trolley problem.
Yeah, I know the trolley.
Right, so there's a number of variations on the trolley problem that have been memeified, and I guess you saw the one shirt that so I saw there's like a subreddit on Reddit of I think it's called r/trolley memes, and it's just a bunch of trolley problem memes, and I want to turn a bunch of those into merch because that's cool. I think that's cool. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna, aside from like my own branding and stuff, I think I'm gonna try to do that as like a merch concept, because it's the trolley problem. It's fun. It's philosophy related. Yeah, it's something. And another thing, it's not quite merch, but it is something that I just did, is I just got a logo animation commission. So I designed my own logo and I made that. So I designed that, but I don't know animation. I can do, Photoshop, Illustrator, that kind of thing, but I am not a animator person. So let's see here if I can find this video animation. Yeah, this covers it. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Yeah. Perhaps. Uh-oh. No, this pulled it up in the wrong. Oh, and it's like in VLC, so it's not going to show properly. Yeah, it's kind of like it's jittery. It's not supposed to be jittery. Yeah, well, that's the idea. It looks good. You'll just have to trust me on that. I'm doing a YouTube video actually of this video. Well, I did the live stream. This video on Foucault.
Gotcha. Sweet.
Thanks.
LUL.
But yeah, no, Foucault, I did this video on Foucault. That was one of my better streams. I thought I'd like prepared for it decently well, and it just worked pretty well. So I got some people on Fiverr. I don't know if you've heard of Fiverr, but it's a website where you can commission fairly low cost freelancers to do various work. And so I got a few different Fiverr people, like video editors, to turn that whole Twitch VOD into a YouTube video, like a YouTube highlight. And so I'm going to have a Foucault highlight video that kind of sums this 2-hour stream into a 10-minute video. But then I'm also going to make a video about the experience of doing that. So like I paid 4 Fiverr video editors, to do this. And then I'm also going to churn out another one. I paid 3 Fiverr thumbnail artists to, and so in the end I'm going to have the video, but I'm also going to have multiple other videos that came out of that. And I'm also learning my own video editing and all this stuff. So this is all, I'm figuring it all out, but thanks for popping up, man. I appreciate everyone that showed up. Today's stream started a little late, but I will be back on Sunday at 1 p.m. Central. I'll be playing Splitgate, talking about something. I haven't quite figured it out. I think next Friday we'll be doing one of these regular streams, and we'll be talking about free will. So that'll be like determinism, free will, compatibilism, choice, neuroscience, philosophy of mind, Descartes. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to probably go into with that. I haven't quite started the outline yet, but I've got some mental cogitation going. And so Sunday, I don't know what we'll be talking about Sunday. I don't know if it'll be a philosophy stream. Maybe I'll be outside the bus again. I did a stream recently outside the bus where I played Bus Driver Simulator. But yeah, no, that's all I've got here. I think I've hit the 2-hour mark, and it's been fun. So yeah, I'm gonna let my girlfriend take over the computer. She wants to do some stuff for her YouTube, which I'm just gonna throw this out there in case anyone sees this later. Her name is Hannah Boggio, and she does like mushroom growing and cultivation. She's been growing these gourmet oyster mushrooms, and she needs to do some voiceover on Adobe Premiere on the computer. But thank you all for showing up, and yeah, that's all. So peace out, soy out, bye.
Ik Joey. Good stuff, man. Have a good weekend. School bus BOT. Skolbispet has won 15 from the jump catch game.